Hi there. Before you jump into this episode, we want to make sure our listeners know about the How Do You Drew Patreon page, where we release exclusive content for our members.
We've shared unedited video versions of podcast episodes, rare Drew Barrymore photos from our digital archives, movie commentaries, and so much more.
We're currently working through a deep dive of each chapter of Little Girl Lost, which, if you don't know, is Drew's out-of-print autobiography released when she was only a teenager. And it's been really good stuff, you guys.
There's already plenty of content to dig into and lots more to come. So join now for as little as $1 a month and support us at How Do You Drew.
Yeah, go to patreon.com/howdoyoudrew to join today. Thank you.
Enjoy the episode.
Hello and welcome to How Do You Drew?
This is a Drew Barrymore podcast brought to you by thedrewseum.com.
And sponsored by our friends at Positive Medium.
I'm Anne.
And I'm Ashley. Hello.
Hello, hello.
Happy July.
Happy July. What happened to the year? I think I say that every time.
But... I know, but I was doing our notes and I was like, Q3? What? We have to start like a brand new sheet because our notes got so big in, 2023 that we were like, never again. We need to separate this out quarterly. Anyway,
yeah, because it was just, on Google Docs.
Yeah.
It just gets real bogged down.
Little behind the scenes info for you guys.
Yes. We like talking about our tech.
Tech talk.
This is Tech Talk with Anne and Ashley.
All right. We don't have a lot to talk about besides our episode topic because we're summer. That means Drew's in hibernation, but that little Barrymore, she came out of her hibernating cave just last night as of recording. So we have one little thing to share.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about what's new with Drew, the very little thing that is.
Here we go with the news, everybody.
All right. So Drew attended a screening of Mariska Hargitay's documentary, My Mom Jane. That's about her mother, Jane Mansfield. And I'm definitely very interested to see this. It's going to be on HBO. And they had a little screening at the Warner Brothers studio in Burbank. So our girl is on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm. Or at least was.
No, I think she's going to be because, we'll follow up with that in a second. But
I was just going to say my first reaction to the outfit that she has on is that I didn't like it, but it's kind of growing on me. I don't know. So she's got like the dress part of it. Maybe it's a long skirt is like plaid, but it's like gray and white. So right away, that's like a lot of pattern. And then she's got a polka dot. I can't tell if it's a shirt or like a scarf thing.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I think it's a shirt.
And then white shoes, which also just feels like a strange.
Yeah, they're definitely, even the style of the shoes is not normal for her.
Yeah. And then this, like, the jacket's pretty cool. I can't, it's just like a gray, like nicely cut jacket. But my initial reaction was like, like
Same.
it's a little like drab maybe for her, even with the patterns, like it feels drab somehow.
Interesting. I don't know if I go drab. I feel like the way you're describing it, I'm like, oh, that sounds cute. But like, I just don't feel like it's fitting her correctly in like a flattering way. So I'm a little bummed about that. But it is like, okay, it's not a suit. I'm excited. And she's out in public. I'm excited. So I'll take it.
That's a good point. Those are all good points. And it is fun it is kind of interesting, like seeing like pictures of her at events because we see so many of her on the show. Like it is kind of like weird.
It's become
like,
novel.
That's so weird.
I know.
And we talk so much about like previous events, like how much we talked about like big events like the Batman Forever premiere.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, there are some really sweet. She looks happy. She looks beautiful. It is nice to see her just getting out there.
It is. And so as I kind of alluded to, I think she's in LA and will be in LA because there's good reason to believe that Hollywood Squares is about to start filming their season 2. We reported a couple episodes ago that they were aiming for end of June, early July to film, so it tracks. And then I happened to see something on Instagram that a lighting designer posted, and it said, "When the boss hands you this note during taping," and it was a note from Drew that said, "Dave, you saved the day. Thank you." It's really cute. And this lighting designer is followed by the production company, Jesse Collins Entertainment, who do Hollywood Squares. So I'm thinking they're in like pre-show stuff right now.
Did he tag Drew? Is that how you saw it? Okay.
Yes.
That was like because the handwriting is like so clearly her. So I was almost wondering if like you saw it somehow
in the
randomly.
wild.
Yeah. And you're like, that's true.
Yeah, so fun. I hope maybe next week we'll start seeing maybe like pictures or videos from the people who are guesting. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, yeah, maybe because we knew like, why did we know so many like so far ahead? Did they promote it or was it like pictures of them at the studio?
No, it was like people who were on the show sharing stuff.
Posting.
Yeah, so we'll be watching. We'll keep you guys up to date with who's coming out for season 2. I'm excited.
Yay. Okay, we've been looking forward to more Hollywood Squares, so it's exciting that it's like rolling. That's really fun. Okay, so we didn't have a lot at the top, guys. We're gonna like jump right into something that we love to do, which is to go over a magazine.
A biggie.
Because we love our physical media.
I love paper.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this magazine, Interview Magazine from July of 1992, is a biggie.
Literally.
It's literally a biggie.
What's the size on this, archivist? What size?
I'm going to guess it's like 11 by 14.
Yeah,
that's
that
probably
sounds about right.
It's something about there. I know it was bigger. Like Interview Magazine was like 11 by 17 or something before that. Anyway, so we love big media. It's hard to store. That's one bummer thing.
That is true.
But this one is a big deal for other reasons too. So not just big in size.
Big in size, big in controversy, big in search results on our website. We'll get into that.
Yes.
So let's just kind of set the scene. So this magazine comes out exactly, do the math, Anne. How many years ago?
I hate doing quick math.
23.
Is it?
No, 33.
Ah!
Jesus.
33 years ago.
Right? Yes. 33 years ago. Okay. So Drew was 17 years old, which is part of the controversy here. Poison Ivy had just come out. She was getting a ton of media attention, and she is very in love with her new boyfriend, Jamie Walters, and he appears with her in some of the photos, and he's there for the interview. And soon after this magazine was done, they got engaged. So that's where we're at. That's what's going on with our girl, and she's kind of having one of her many career resurgences at this time.
Yeah, so she's like in the public eye, and
Very
this is like no departure from that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a clip here from Arsenio Hall when this magazine like basically was on the stands. I'm guessing because they're like talking about it like it's fresh news.
This appearance is about pretty much like I think technically she was talking about 2000 Malibu Road, but this whole thing, this is all they talk about.
Actually, when I was approached to do the cover, Bruce Weber wanted to shoot me for the cover of Interview Magazine, and I spoke to the editor, whose name's Ingrid, who's a wonderful lady, who said, we want to do a very free, loving piece about friendship, love, the environment, and so on and so forth. And I was kind of questioning how it would turn out, if it would really turn out as free and beautiful as she had described it to me.
Okay, so I love that sort of like immediate description of like what they were going for.
Yeah.
I will say like, the friend element, I think when I first saw this, I thought they must have been like really friends. I know you mentioned it later, but I think for a long time, maybe because I don't know if I had already seen the like Sky magazine pictures.
That's what I was
just
thinking. I think I conflated those two.
Yes. So anyway, that's funny that we did the same thing because they're so comfortable together that like it really comes through as like friends.
Yeah,
It's really
and
sweet.
I agree. It's got this like free, fun friendship feeling. Like that's
Hmm.
definitely what's going on. I just want to say my personal story about getting this magazine because I think I just didn't want to shell out the money for a long time. I don't know,
Okay.
but back in like 2002, I worked at Barnes and Noble and I met this guy and he asked me on a date. And I obviously must have just talked about Drew because that's what I did. Actually, whoa, I just had like a secondary memory. I'm pretty sure I watched her on David Letterman when she was promoting Confessions of a Dangerous Mind at this guy's house, like on our one date.
Oh, that's funny.
But anyway, he had this magazine because he just thought it was cool for whatever reason. He'd saved it and he gave it to me. So that's how I got my copy. Kind of a little different.
That is so funny. I don't remember where I got mine. I know it was something I like sought after for so long.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't think it could have been like when we got our collections from Rob. I feel like it wouldn't have been that late, probably.
Probably not.
But I don't remember like unwrapping it from a magazine package. You know, like I don't know. I feel like I feel like it should be like
More of a
memorable, and I
moment.
don't remember. Yeah, but I know it's like it was like one of those like really cool items because of its like the controversy that we'll get into, but also it's like beautiful and yeah.
There's still there are copies up on eBay right now if anyone wants them. I didn't really notice the price, but I don't think they're that bad.
I would guess that they're like probably 20 or so bucks.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's what magazines like. That's like the price that most old magazines like start at.
Yeah,
Even
that's
new
true.
ones, people try to
I
sell
know.
things for like $20.
Us Weekly, get out of here.
Yeah, come on.
So this is a great place to say. So I just did today fresh new scans of this because the ones we had on our website were kind of cropped because it's very difficult to scan something this large. But I do have access to a large format printer at my office. So I brought this in this morning and I was like, I'm just going to get this done. So we have beautiful new scans of these on thedrewsam.com
Mm-hmm.
on our 1992 magazines page. But if you really want to go through this entire feature page by page and see the entire article, you got to go join our Patreon.
Patreon.com/AddieDrew.
Yes. So for the last like 6 or maybe even more, 7 magazine episodes that we've done of the podcast, we've been scanning the entire full feature from the magazine for our Patreon members to peruse. And so go check that out. It's a pretty fun thing to get to do. I'm like, these scans came out really nice. I'm really excited about you guys checking them out.
Yeah, and also it's like this magazine's big, so like when we scanned it in the past, we had smaller scanners.
Oh,
And now
yeah. It
you've
was
got,
totally
like,
cropped off. And now it's the full thing in all its glory.
Love it. Yeah, and you know, like we're always kind of talking about how like we did our photos for our website like once and then like kind of never went back, and we're like,
Yeah.
shit.
Well,
now
very
so it gives
similar-
us the chance to like rescan. But what were you gonna
Yes.
say?
Very similarly to Playboy, when we decided to cover that on the podcast, I was like, "Ugh, we've got to improve these scans because, like Playboy and Interview, this happens to be the thing that brings a lot of people to our website, what they're searching for. What do these magazines have in common? Why would people be searching for them? Every search term is like Drew Barrymore nudity, Drew Barrymore boobs, Drew Barrymore 1992 boobs. It's just like, oh my God.
But it's also like funny that like boobs brings them to us.
Yeah. We bring the boobs.
You know what? We've got a lot of that. Drew, you know, had that at that era that she.
That's right. And it
know.
kind of was starting right here, actually.
That's true. And like it is wild. She's very young, but it's Drew always feels older than she actually is.
I know. Like, when do we want to get into that? Do we want to talk about that now?
Her
Like,
age.
Yeah. What are your feelings about that these days?
Like just looking back, like thinking about Drew kind of being
Being
not
17
maybe exploited
and
a little bit.
I mean, I think this was very much her choice. She very much took
Yeah.
ownership of doing this, but she is 17. Like, I don't know if she loves it now.
Well, it'd be interesting to ask her. I feel like I feel like it almost doesn't faze me because it's her.
Yeah, I know,
And
which is weird.
And I mean, it's like it's her history, it's her growing up too fast, it's everything. Like, part of me is like, oh, she's like in her 20s here. Like, it's
Yeah.
like she almost feels like she is.
I know.
And it's hard for me to like take myself out of that. So it's, I don't know. I feel like by the facts, like a 17-year-old girl, nude on the cover of like like a magazine that would have been on stands. Although, did we talk about the fact that it like
No,
had
we'll
a
get
cover
there.
over it? Yeah. Anyway, so like that, like the facts, it does. But then it's like, it's Drew Barrymore. She'd just done Poison Ivy. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just so much that feels like not surprising.
No,
I guess I
definitely
should
not
say.
surprising. Like controversy was following her always, no matter what. And we do have this weird exception, this like pass that we give it because it's her. It's like, well, 17 in Drew Barrymore years is like 30 for a normal
Right.
person,
Right.
But
I feel like I do that a lot.
It's weird. And it's like, I mean, in this Arsenio Hall appearance, which we will link to and you guys can check it out, I don't feel like he's being quote unquote creepy, but he's like talking to a 17-year-old girl about her cute little butt and stuff. And that is weird. I don't know.
It is.
It's very,
Yeah.
I have a lot of conflicting feelings about, a lot of things that happened in Drew's teen years.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it's up for her to say. I don't think she would say she felt exploited in any way. I
Mhm.
think she's more just like, I didn't know my daughters would be able to go onto the drewseum.com
Right.
and look at these. But
that their daughters would search Drew Barrymore
Yeah.
boobs and get to get to the drewseum.com.
yeah, exactly. So it's a complicated thing. I'd love for you guys to reach out to us. You guys can leave comments on Spotify now. That's a cool new feature on the episode. So, or, on our Instagram, tell us what you think about this. Like, how does it land for you these days that she did this at such a young age?
Yeah.
Love to hear it.
I'd be curious too. Like, even both people who are like new to the news of it, and then also people
Who were
I don't
there?
yeah, if there is there anybody who like, I don't know, would let us know like their reaction to it maybe closer to the time. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, the 90s were
know.
a very different time.
Absolutely. Absolutely they were. All right, so the article was written by Graham Fuller and Ingrid Sushi? I don't know how to pronounce
Yeah,
that.
and she was the one that I think she was the editor, right?
Yeah, because I think they said in that clip
Yeah.
that she was called by Ingrid. So I
Yeah.
didn't. That's cool.
And randomly, I don't know what the heck I was searching or doing, but remember that 2003 very sexy Victoria's Secret book launch thing that Drew went to with Fab where she's wearing the belt that I have?
Yeah.
There's pictures of her posing there with Ingrid, which is kind of cool. So I'll throw one of those into the episode page just
That's
because it's so
neat.
random. Yeah.
That's really cool. Okay, so we already mentioned, I think Drew mentioned that the photographs were done by Bruce Weber. Drew was already a big fan of his work before this moment. She said he creates this absolutely incredible environment that is just so warm and loving and relaxed, which I love to hear because
Yeah.
that's the only way you could get what they got, I guess, right?
For sure. And it does give you a little more like, okay, like, she's there doing this on her own terms and sounds like she had a great time. Like she talks about it like it was a blast. So that's
And it was
nice.
comfortable.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Yeah.
did find a cute little story that Bruce Weber wrote about this shoot, and it's called Sweet Memories of Drew Barrymore. And I just pulled a couple quotes. The first one is, Drew was a real wild child in those days, but so charming and loving. I had that wonderful feeling like I couldn't take enough pictures of her. Just, what a
Aw.
great compliment.
Yeah, I love that.
But then I'm like, but then there's an entire full page that's just his dog without Drew. And there's like pictures where she's not in them. I'm like,
He feels the same way about everything else. He
Yeah.
just he can't take enough pictures in general, but also of her.
okay, there we go.
And he also said, I have an enduring fondness for Drew. I catch her TV show sometimes in the morning and have a laugh thinking, oh my God, she's still at it. Drew has the spirit of a kid, even after a lifetime in the public eye. I admire her for that. I can't imagine anyone young at heart in Hollywood not wanting to be like her. Aw,
Really sweet.
it is really sweet. And that's true.
I love that. Oh my God,
know?
she's still at it. It could just be like a picture of her like as a kid and now and just put that quote over it.
Oh my God, she's still at it. Bruce Weber.
Okay, so the styling for this shoot was done by Joe McKenna, and he has worked with her another time or two. So he did the styling in 1995, both for ID magazine and both Miu Miu campaigns. So I guess he
Oh, cool.
must be like an Ellen Von Unworth guy.
Yeah.
But it's so fun that they like worked together at this time, and then 3 years later, very different looks. You know, those
Yeah.
like ID and Miu Miu kind of go together, but they're very different from this one.
But from this, yeah. Wait, styling, she's naked.
I know, I thought that too. She's wearing like a robe at one point.
That's true. She does have some clothes on in part of it. But it's like, wait a minute. I guess, okay, well, anyway, so she's not completely naked because she had her hair done and her makeup done.
There you go.
So her hair was done by Eric Gabriel, and makeup was by Denise Markey. And now let's just talk a little bit about the photos because they are beautiful. You guys need to see them for yourselves if you haven't. If you have, refresh yourselves. Like Ashley said, we have new scans that you can leave on our website.
Yep. So these photos were taken at Bruce Weber's house in Bellport, Long Island. So that's kind of fun. I feel like we don't always know the location of a shoot like this. So love knowing that. I think he shot at his house a lot. I get that feeling.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And so, I mean, the cover is like the big source of the controversy, right? She is quote unquote naked. It's not a revealing image, though. Would you agree?
It's not.
Yeah.
I completely agree. It's like, I think that's why the shockingness of like, yes, she's young and basically her whole body is exposed, except it's not. Like,
Right.
It's like, it's because like she's covering her like breasts that would be like a nipple that would show. Her like hips are toward Jamie, so you can't see like anything in the front. You can see the side of her thigh, but like not her whole, like you can see her butt, but not really.
She could almost be wearing a bathing suit here and it wouldn't make much of a difference.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's so like classy and beautiful.
I know.
Like, I mean, is it reminding me? I feel like it's reminding me of the other, like the photos that maybe Annie Leibovitz took of her in the grass.
Oh, in the
where
grass.
she's wearing like almost like a nude dress.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that.
It's kind of giving me that, like, you know, a similar sort of vibe. I'd never thought about it before.
Instead of a monkey, this one has a dog. And it has Jamie Walters, which is which. No, just kidding. It's interesting that he doesn't get a credit on the cover. It just says Splendor in the Grass starring Drew Barrymore in Bruce Weber photos.
I guess he's also like, that's true. He's in the interview though, which is kind of like a interesting thing, but it's about her.
Yeah.
I was going to say like, we can't not mention the tattoos.
Of course.
So,
we love a tattoo peek.
Right. So at this point, I mean, she has the ankle one, and then on her back, she has one that's like freshly tattooed with Jamie's name. It says James. Yeah. And then she had the one with her mom's name, right?
Yeah.
So like that was it.
And well, she had her moon, which you can't see, and she had her flowers in the front, which you can't see. Yeah, you can see the mom cherubs, the jade cherubs, and the cross. Very lovely on this photo on the cover. It's really nice.
It's really nice. So we have a little clip of Drew talking about first seeing the cover. So let's jump into this really quick.
No, when I first saw it, I jumped back and I went, oh my God, I'm naked on the cover of Interview magazine. Well, this should be interesting.
I like how she's like a little shy about it, but she's not.
Yeah, she's all right with it. Drew said it was the first time in 23 years. Is that like since the beginning of the magazine?
Probably.
I don't know. Anyway, first time in 23 years that Interview had put something over the cover in stores. So basically, like to like
censor
what did she
it.
say? Like yeah, to censor it. And so she's like, she didn't like the censorship aspect of that. And she knew it's controversial to pose nude on the cover of a magazine, but you know, it's so that was strange, but also like, yeah, she kind of had this reaction, like, I guess it's for the kids, but like,
yeah, but okay. I like that you made a note of like really wishing we could see examples. And I feel like I have a very clear image in my head. So I don't know if I've seen it like on eBay at some point, but I'm kind of picturing like a plastic bag that has like yellow, like a bar going across like those parts of her body.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's real or if I made it up. If anyone knows, please shout us out.
I mean, yeah, it would be like, I was just like trying to visualize because like, yeah, usually it is some kind of bag with like a, you know, censoring bar, but it'd be cool to have that.
It would. I would love that.
Yeah. She said that her publicist was really upset when he found out that she was naked on the cover. But then once he saw it, he said that she was right and it was beautiful. So that's a good sign,
Yeah.
like, I don't know.
Yeah, because it is, like I said, it sounds almost worse than it is. Like when you see
Yes.
it, it's like, oh, well, that's really pretty. Like it's okay.
Yeah. And is it because it's her? Is it because,
yeah.
like there's so many
all the
things about it.
factors. It's
Yes,
just
exactly.
the tattoos. No.
Yeah.
So Jamie Walters, her boyfriend, said that he was jealous because he didn't want other men to see her body, but she's so beautiful that he was very proud, and that made Drew feel comfortable with the cover. I definitely like cringed a little at that part of the Arsenio.
Like she's so beautiful that he was proud.
Yeah, and she's like, he gets very jealous and I love it. And I'm like, I don't love that. But their relationship lasted for what, like 6 months?
Yeah, it was like a short but like condensed.
Yeah.
Like she was so
in
into
love.
him.
Yeah.
So into him, and it's like this is like right in the middle of that very short,
yeah,
right?
It sure
very
is.
short bit.
So inside the magazine, we get right off the bat, giant 2-page full color image of Drew and Jamie on a picnic table. And I love that they have like these weird words all over. Like it's like Jamie Drew, but then it's fearlessness and trust and breakfast. Courage.
Okay, the other things like destiny, courage. I was like, wait, are these those ever after postcards? I feel like fearlessness, trust, destiny, and courage. Like one of those has to be on those cards.
If you know, you know. I'm making a reel out of this with the images because that is so
It's
true.
so funny. I can't wait to like later like look at what I'm now visualizing them overlaid over this somehow.
Even like the font looks correct. Okay, that's hilarious.
That's so funny.
So in his little story, Bruce said, Drew, fell in love with one of our dogs. He names the dog Rain in this, but the dog is Destiny everywhere else. So I think he just misremembered. So he says, I took a crazy picture of her with Jamie Walters and the dog, flopped out on the picnic table with all the food and everything all around them. And yeah, like I said, Bruce's dogs are in a lot of the photos. There's one page that's just a giant full page of just a dog. Can we have given this space to more Drew photos?
But thankfully there are a lot of them.
Yeah, there
in
are.
the magazine. So I can't remember which ones are full page. So you're gonna have to remind me. Oh, they're all full page.
Yeah, the way I have them here should be really accurate for you.
Okay. So we've got 2 black and white full pages where she is actually clothed. And this is a very flattering like black dress she's wearing. Like the way that this like tank top comes down and like, I don't know, there's something really flattering about that top. Isn't there?
These pictures are very different from the rest of them where they're like outside in nature. Yeah, I love these. Of course, she's wearing those like cross necklaces that she wore all the time in
like
1992.
Layered crosses.
Yeah. And she looks great.
She does look great. I don't know if we mentioned yet, but she's got dark hair at this time.
Yeah, we did.
So that's the other thing that's really unique about these. So she's got like her short, like really, really dark brown hair. It basically looks black in these black and white pictures.
Yeah.
And that's always like dreamy for us to see like that other side of Drew that we don't get to see that much.
Until she attached her doppelganger headband and extensions. Because that was at this time.
That's right. That's right. But the black and white, that outfit, like these pictures those 2 are especially stunning.
They're really
in this
neat.
magazine. I mean, the other ones are too. So here's another quote from Bruce's story. He said, our Bellport house had this really tiny hallway. We were all crammed in there together with the equipment and cigarette smoke. Not the easiest conditions to do a light meter reading. But I like how it feels like we're at an entrance to a downtown nightclub, even though it's a little house in a country town. It really does feel like a nightclub.
So cool. I know. I would never have known like this is his hallway. And it's just like, I got the smoke and some people standing around. And Jamie is hiding behind Drew, behind his arms, which I think I only noticed like a year ago because I think I saw like a lightened copy of it. And I was like, oh, that's his tattoo. And I couldn't believe I'd never noticed before.
How funny. Yeah, I definitely never noticed him there before. Like, so I don't even think I've noticed like the people. And there are clearly like 2 people on her side and then somebody else on the other side.
All eyes on that beautiful girl in the middle.
Yeah, not surprising. All right, so now let's get into like the outdoor pool nudes.
Pool nudes. Yeah, so we have
Yep.
this first like full page picture of Drew and one of the models. Their names are on the scans. I didn't type them up. I looked them all up. One of them actually had like a horrible sexual assault story. So that's
Oh.
like upsetting. I won't even get into that. But yeah, so they were all models at the time. I think there's 3 or 4 of them. And so there's photos of Drew in the pool, kind of holding and hugging this girl topless, and then a bunch of other pictures on the next page of all the girls just like splashing in the pool. Lots of smoking in all of these pictures.
Yep.
Drew's like wearing a white tank top, and then she's not wearing anything. So Drew said that she wasn't offended by people seeing these and thinking that she was like bi or lesbian. She said that conversation was already going on because of the poison ivy kiss, which is so silly. And she said that the pictures are just trying to be like friendship, light and free. No one's trying to be sexy in any of these, which like is true. Like there's no like, ooh, baby.
They just like kind of are naturally, but there's not like a like like they're all very playful.
Yeah,
right.
It's just we're a bunch of girls in the pools playing.
Yeah.
And then like we said, the models weren't actually her friends, but Drew said that once they all jumped in the pool, they had like a great time and it really like broke the ice, so to speak.
So sweet. I've always really loved the picture of her on the like set of 4 on the upper right that's like in color where she's like laughing and smiling.
Yeah, it's very Drew.
It's just like such a like kind of perfect capture of like pure, like you can just tell she's like really kind of cracking up. I don't know, it's really sweet.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's a darling one. And then I forgot we have another full page inside that's of the same kind of setup as the cover. How could I forget this?
I know. Every time I see that one, I go, is that an outtake? It's not. I don't know. It looks very special.
Yeah, so like how did I forget it? Maybe we're like somehow so used to the cover.
Yeah, maybe.
It's probably, been in our face that we're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
But it's also like beautiful. And again, like the nudity is like not, it's in your face, but it's not. So I don't know how to explain it unless you see it.
It's like because she's like in profile, I think has a lot to do with it. It's not like full frontal going on here.
Right. This is the Barrymore profile magic happening right here.
Barrymore profile.
The Barrymore profile.
We also get a really beautiful, this is the only thing that wasn't full page. It's like in the middle of the article, but a really beautiful close-up of her James tattoo with the cherub holding it. This is the one that she claims after they broke up, the letters bled together and became illegible. And they showed this tattoo on the Drew Barrymore show like a year or 2 ago.
Okay.
And it looked like they had edited the name out. I'll have to pull the screen cap that I took because I remember being like, I don't know if that's what it really looks like or if they like fudged it a little bit.
Like edited it out, like made it like look like the bar is clear.
No, but like I'll have to send it to you. I showed it to you at the time and now I can't remember, of course, but I know exactly where to find it.
Okay. But that's so interesting. And yeah, I was just thinking about like before you were saying it, how she's like, yeah, it just like blurred together. Like,
well, she said the tattoo artist, when he did it, he said like, you'll see, or trust me. And she's like, what do you mean? He's like, just trust me, you'll see. Something like that.
That's right.
He's probably like, this guy's not going to work out, girl. You're 17.
All right. In this next picture, you mentioned the robe earlier. Here's the robe. They're kind of leaning against the picnic table at Drew and Jamie. And she has 2 cigarettes in her mouth in this. If you listen to our Batman Forever episode, you would know that Two-Face also had 2 cigarettes in his mouth. So maybe Drew was just like channeling future Two-Face.
Yeah. It's like a premonition. Eventually she's going to be on one side of someone putting that light-sided cigarette in his mouth.
But she looks so cool. I know it's such a bummer that like cigarettes are like synonymous with cool.
I mean, especially with her. Like she knew how to work a cigarette and make it look really good. And I hate smoking.
I hate it. Right? Hate it.
That's how I feel about smoking. But gosh darn if she didn't make it look so good in the 90s. And like, I mean, she had him in photo shoots. She had him on the red carpet. This girl smoked a lot.
Yes, she did. And this is no exception.
No.
This is no exception at all.
She did tell Arsenio that she had the 2 cigarettes in her mouth because she was lighting one for Jamie. So romantic.
Very romantic, and also like looking great doing it.
I know.
Drew.
Gosh darn it, Drew.
And we do have a few outtakes from this, which is nice. I mean, they printed a ton, which is lovely.
Right.
But outtakes are always a treat.
We love an outtake.
Yes. So they printed an outtake in a 1994 issue of Interview of Drew with the dog. It's beautiful. It's like sepia toned, but kind of like pinkish toned.
Yeah.
Really
It's
beautiful.
So pretty. Like, I don't remember what that little article is even about, but
Me
this is
neither.
a full page if I recall, and it's great.
It's really great. And then you've got a couple other outtakes in here that we don't even know where they came from.
Yeah, I don't know. There's one on the picnic table of them smooching with the dog on Drew's back, and then there's another one in the grass where her little boobies are showing. So it's almost like the cover, but her hand is a little bit out of the way.
But it's like that alone. I mean, this is that whole thing of like, why is the nipple so controversial? But like
Right.
that alone makes it like, like
Yep.
it's just so funny
I know.
how immediate it feels like
Society.
inappropriate. Yeah, society has just like ingrained that. And yet, Drew, she gets a pass as usual.
As usual.
Hey, Drewbies.
We are here to tell you about our website hosts, Positive Medium, and they sponsor the podcast. We've been clients of theirs for over 10 years, and we use them for all our website needs on thedrewsium.com.
Their services include customized web design, professional coding, search engine optimization and marketing, plus hosting, which has been huge for us for many years.
Plus, their incredible customer service has been one of our favorite features. They've literally saved our site quite a few times, and they always help with minor troubleshooting in a matter of minutes. So whether that's coding issues or back-end questions, etc., we reach out, we get help immediately, which is just invaluable.
Lucky you. To our listeners, Positive Medium is offering 25% off any managed WordPress hosting plan using our promo code DREW. That's DREW. Visit our friends over at positivemedium.com. Thank you. All right, so as magazines do, this one's got an article, and we've got a little Q&A that we'll get into in a minute, and it's got both Graham and Ingrid asking questions throughout, and then there's like somebody else who pops in at one point, and then like Drew and Jamie are both answering, so we'll be doing our best to like
I know, keep that clear.
keep
Maybe
it
we'll just
together.
do question and then Drew, Jamie. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. All right, but it's got an intro that we're going to go ahead and read. Sometimes these are fun, the ways they summarize her.
Yeah.
It says, Drew Barrymore is a national treasure. Her precocious performances as Gertie in E.T. the Extraterrestrial and as other wily or winsome moppets catapulted her into child stardom. And the cost to her was dear, as if being born into America's most famous thespian family wasn't burden enough for any aspiring actress. But Barrymore emerged from rehabilitation from alcohol and drug abuse 3 years ago with her considerable natural resources intact and eventually the desire to continue her career.
Nice.
Great.
That
And
really,
it's also like 3 years ago. Like
I
that.
know. Oh, we'll talk about that. It's crazy. The intro does go on to describe how she decided to basically have her comeback role be that of a bad girl in Poison Ivy and how well she succeeded in that film. And it says that when you meet her, you'd never sense that she was so controversial, which like, I totally get this. And I love this quote. They said, having weathered the equivalent of a midlife crisis, she's an unguarded, affectionate, and spontaneous person whose thoughts swarm like bees from a hive. So good.
I love it.
So true. So good. And it goes on to say that she's very candid and open. And then the quote is, she is what she is. And the most impressive thing that she is trusting and unafraid. Gorgeous. Nice
Gorgeous
writing.
and beautifully written. But like, yeah, that whole thing of like thoughts that swarm like bees from a hive. She has such an active and beautiful mind.
Yeah.
Like, I love that it's like, I don't know. That's a great analogy.
It is.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. So let's get into this question and answer part. So it kind of begins with Drew and Jamie and they're kissing. And Drew apologizes for the public display of affection, the PDA, and says they can't help themselves because they always want to be close and are always talking about each other when they're apart. And because of that, it kind of drives their friends crazy. So they were like kind of obsessed with each other.
I mean, we've all been there at the beginning of a relationship. Like,
Sure.
I
Yeah.
mean, we can assume these photos must have been taken. I think her hair is brown by like April. So somewhere between May, probably, if this is on Stands by June. And I think they'd only just started dating in that time. Like, this is very fresh.
Yeah, very fresh, very fresh.
So she's asked, like, what did they do on their first date? And Jamie pops in and says that they were both really nervous. He picked her up and they were supposed to go see the 1946 Beauty and the Beast film. And then Drew interjects that it's her favorite film and it was showing for just one night in LA, but they couldn't find the theater. And so Jamie says instead they got food, walked on the beach, and stayed up all night talking, which just sounds like a great first date.
That's lovely. That's lovely.
Also, like, how funny to live in a time where you couldn't just Google it.
Look up. Yeah, look up where the theater
Where's the
is.
theater?
That's very true. I mean, I guess they could have like asked somebody, but hey, they made the best of it.
Yeah.
So then she's asked if they met because Jamie's also an actor. And Jamie said, yes, they have a mutual agent who's JJ Harris that set them up. And Drew explains that at the time that they met, they had both been in a relationship for a while. And then when they broke up, JJ Harris introduced them. And Jamie kind of says that like he wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to be a rebound thing. And Drew says that JJ was very smart. And then Drew says she had been working with her for 10 years, which we're kind of like not sure that timeline seems like it could be possible.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I'd have to go.
But Drew does that a lot.
Yeah, we know that.
And she says that JJ like knows her better than everyone. We do know they had a really good like relationship.
Yeah, R.I.P. by the way. Do you remember she passed away?
I forgot.
Yeah, I meant to go rewatch. I think it's Drew's Celebrity Profile, which I feel like we reference on here all the time. Celebrity Profile. But JJ's in that, and I should have gone and watched it to see because I think she does kind of comment on introducing Drew and Jamie. But I just don't think that she was with Drew from the time she did E.T. Like, that just doesn't feel right to me. I could be wrong. I feel like I should know this, but I just don't think that's right. I'm going to look into it further. I'll come back to you guys on that.
We'll find out.
So Ingrid says that 10 years is a long time for an actress, a young actress, but Drew has sort of been around forever. Mm-hmm. And this time I pulled the exact quote from Drew. So she laughs and she says, "See, I started in commercials when I was 11 months, but I knew my mom wasn't sure that was right. Then when I was old enough to talk, I said to her, acting is my dream. I don't want you to think that you're doing wrong by me by getting me an agent. I can't expect you to be sure about this coming from a 2-year-old, but please, this is all I want. And I was lucky to have a mother who supported me." And we have to put this clip in here because I love it so much.
I just said to my mom, I want to be an actor. And she said, no, honey, that's fine. That's okay. You know, it's really hard work. So you could just go out back into bed and take a nappy. And then I said, no, I want to be an actress. And she said, all right. So she took me to an agent about when I was 11 months old.
Go on and take a nappy.
Take a nappy. Yeah, and she kind of like pats her.
There.
So she's like patting.
I love that we've like had so many different versions of that same story. Even Little Girl Lost, I think she said she was like 3 or 4. But obviously like something like that happened at some point while she was very young because we've heard it a lot.
Yeah, we have. So like that anecdote is like, yeah, we've heard the variants of it, but she basically was like insisted on acting. And then the interview actually says that's called really knowing what you want to do.
That's cute.
And then she's asked, is her agent a mentor to her? And Drew responds that she's like very independent and wants to make her own decisions, but it's really important to have JJ's approval on things. And her input has a really big impact on Drew's career. So clearly, like, that's important.
Yeah.
She also said that Drew and Jamie like hang out with JJ as friends. I don't know how much older JJ was than them, but it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
And JJ is currently pregnant. So they said they like to put their faces to her stomach. That's really cute.
It's really cute. So then they're asked if they live together, Drew and Jamie. Drew says yes, in West Hollywood. We don't have any information. There's this weird time period in the like early 90s where we like have no idea where she was like living, and then we kind of know after that.
Yep.
They're trying to fix their place up. They're replacing the floors, but they also wanted to find a bigger place. And Jamie says they want a yard, and Drew says they want grass for their dog to run around in. And also like this place, I'm like, what dog is this? So, like, I'm thinking maybe it was Jamie's, and like he brought it to the relationship.
Yeah, because I don't know of any dog that she had. I feel like, do we know of any dogs she had before she got like
Flossie and Templeton? No. Yeah, so that was
like
interesting.
cats when she was younger, and even then it was like that was kind of sporadic. And
yeah,
like, that's kind of interesting to think about, because we know she's like such an animal lover and such a like dog lover.
She also used to call Luke Wilson's dog hers. He had a dog named Ted, and she would like talk about it like it was hers. That was probably why I was like, I bet this was Jamie's dog.
That's true. And I mean, he probably influenced Drew maybe getting the dogs, right?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, because the timeline, like,
yeah.
Anyway, kind of cool.
Interesting.
All right. So then the interviewer asks about their respective Aaron Spelling TV shows. Drew had 2000 Malibu Road, and Jamie Walters had The Heights. And Drew said they were both really nervous to do TV. It's kind of interesting to think about this now. Like, so Jamie Walters said, it used to be if you did TV, you couldn't do films, but that's changing with Luke Perry, Jason Priestley, etc. And then Drew said that TV actors get first dibs on roles now, which I wonder if that was actually true.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I feel like even then it was still kind of like
pretty
taboo,
separate.
Or like,
yeah.
So it's interesting to think of that now, because like actors just do whatever now.
It's not a thing at all.
And like shows are like not considered any less of caliber than movies anymore.
We're in like the era of prestige television, right? Like, yeah, it's really funny. But so Jamie points out that studios didn't want to take risks on unknown actors, and they like TV actors because the public already knows them, which makes sense. I get that.
Yeah.
So here's a quote from Drew. She said, I was closed off to the idea of TV until director and executive producer Joel Schumacher, call back to our last episode, Batman Forever. He was the director of that film. So he started telling me about 2000 Malibu Road, and I read the first 2 episodes. Our writer is Terry Louise Fisher, who writes women so well. I play a struggling actress who comes to the Midwest with my sister. Through the course of the series, I become one of the most famous stars in the world, and my sister becomes the biggest agent in Hollywood. Usually when you watch TV, you see everybody going farther and farther downhill, but in this series, they get better. So I don't think they even got anywhere to the point in that show where that happened. No. They must have given her like a rough outline of what was going to happen.
Yeah, the most I remember about her is her sister.
Oh, God.
Doesn't seem like she would become a successful
no
agent. Anyway, that's interesting, but I like that she is looking at it from this perspective going into it. Like she's looking at it because she likes how the women are written. That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then she's asked, like, what makes a well-written woman's role? And Drew said that a lot of scripts have women, quote, just screaming and squealing for the boys or very afraid. And then she said, but women can be very daring in reality. Makes sense that she did Charlie's Angels. Like, you know,
oh my gosh.
Her perspective is like, it comes,
they can like there. The boys and be daring.
Yep. And then Jamie points out that most scripts are written by men. And Drew said, that like women's dialogue is written by men is usually pathetic, saying things that like women would never say in real life. And she said that she likes transitions, and so like she likes the way that her character in the show starts off scared, it becomes strong. I wonder if we saw that in like the episodes that we saw, because I don't remember any trajectory.
I don't think so. I think there's only 3. I mean, she like gets like an audition. Like I think that's as far as her career as an actress in the show really gets. So
we're gonna have to dust off our 2000 Malibu Road tapes.
I think they're on YouTube. I think they might be, yeah. But
right.
Like I said, like maybe there's 3 episodes that ever even made it to air, and then it got canceled. So we never got to see her become this big star. So the interviewers point out that part of what makes Drew so interesting to them is how real she is willing to be, both personally and while acting. So Drew says, quote, "A lot of the respect I have for my character in 2000 Malibu Road is that she doesn't take shit and she speaks her mind, which is very much like me back then. I want to have real relationships and I like to see them portrayed. In my show, my boyfriend does something that's not even really wrong, but I tell him what I'm not prepared to accept." So she's really like going for this strong woman vibe, but I don't think it comes across in the episodes that aired, sadly.
Yeah, I don't think it does either, and maybe we just need to look at it through that lens.
Yeah,
I don't
maybe.
know. So she's kind of like told that her openness can probably be used against her by the media, and it was asked if she was advised against talking about her addiction struggles. And then she goes into this story like we've talked about this before, but it's kind of, I don't know, it's always interesting to talk about this.
Yeah.
So Drew first admits that she slipped a few times post-recovery, but that she will have been sober for 3 years on July 3rd. And she's using the word sober here, which is interesting because now she's so like,
oh, I didn't even
not sober.
catch
You
that.
know?
I'm not sober. I don't work a program. Well, back then she was.
Right. And the story that we know is that the National Enquirer reporter snuck into the facility where she was in rehab and broke the story. And Drew said, "When it broke, I was told, these are your options. You can completely deny it, or you can admit it and go on with your life and never talk about it again. Or you are in a position of power to speak your mind and help other people. I said, I think you all know what choice I'm going to take." And they all looked down and were like, I had a feeling she would say that. And I love this because it's kind of like, is Drew going to be honest? Like, of course she is. I love that that's kind of how she sees it. Like,
I love that like her people are all like, "Can we bury this?" And she's like, "Nope. That's not
I'm going
me."
to tell everybody. Yeah. So she said she learned in recovery how important honesty was. But she hadn't planned to be honest to the entire world. That was kind of forced on her.
Yeah.
But she like realized she wants to help others, which is why she wrote Little Girl Lost. So
Super
hey,
cool.
if you haven't read Little Girl Lost and you want to hear us going through it, another reason to go to our Patreon, guys.
Patreon.com/HowDoYouDrew.
Yeah, we're like a little behind on finishing up, but we have the last 3 chapters. And I believe the next one we're going to cover is when the National Enquirer story breaks. So this is like perfect timing.
Perfect
We'll have to
timing.
get into that really soon.
Love it.
So she's asked what gave her the idea to write the book. And she says, she wanted to be honest, work on her recovery, and she was not concerned with how it would affect her Hollywood career. But then she was getting a lot of buzz when the story started breaking and publishing companies were reaching out to her. She ended up going with Simon & Schuster because, quote, "they were more interested in what I had to say than in what they wanted me to say," which I love that. Like, what did these other people want her to say? I wonder. They also let her choose her co-writer, who, of course, is Todd Gold. She says she was nervous when it came out, but it did really well. And then she said, quote, "I don't give a damn that I'm a best-selling author. Who cares? The point was that I reached tons of people." And then once her passion for acting came back, when she'd kind of worked through all that other stuff, then it was hard to convince people that she could be trusted. And we all know those stories, of course, are being blacklisted, quote unquote.
And the way she kind of feels like even now that things could always go away. It comes from
yeah.
this,
Ooh, I didn't even think about that layer of it. Yeah.
I also just wanted to ask, like, Todd Gold had written the People article before they did the book, right? So is that how she met Todd Gold?
I think so. That's my feeling about it. Yeah.
Okay. So she's asked if it's still the case that she can't be trusted. And Drew said, not at all. But in the beginning, people at auditions had this attitude of, you should be so grateful. I already was, she said. They knocked me down over and over again, and I would go home crying. She said that getting poison ivy helped things kind of snowball and led to her getting gun crazy. But before that, she was having a lot of problems. But it is interesting that you're like, yeah, I don't, it's probably not at all. Like,
well, what I thought of immediately was Bad Girls being her first studio film, since like 1988 or whatever. And, we kind of know this little story that we've heard that she might have had a run-in with the law due to some marijuana, and Dermot Mulroney like helped her get out of it. And there was this kind of, if you could read between the lines, it was sort of like she is just getting her footing in Hollywood again. She is just getting to the place where people trust her and she's allowed to like be with these other big women stars. And that could have really been a huge problem if that had come out. Like, see, we knew she was a druggie or whatever, whatever it would have been.
It was like she was still having to sort of walk on eggshells.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, for a long time.
Yeah. Okay, so then it's pointed out that seeing her act so fiercely and so generously in Poison Ivy was very impressive. Nice
That's
words.
cool.
Yeah. And Drew's quote is, Ivy was the kind of girl who in reality you would never want to become, but maybe when you were younger you even knew a girl like Ivy who just made you say, why can't I be that free? Why can't I just do the things she does, even though what she does is wrong? At least she has the guts to go and do it. I loved Ivy so much for that and wanted to play her regardless of whether it was a good career move. Live out that fantasy.
Yeah, and once again, she's like picking it because she likes the character's confidence or whatever it is. It's like about how she feels in the character.
Yeah.
So she's kind of asked, like, was there any risk in getting typecast as a bad girl?
Well,
which is like, yeah,
we know that happened.
Of course. So Drew said that once footage started coming out from Poison Ivy, she was getting a lot of like offers for what she called Lolita-esque nymphette roles. And but she like says that she doesn't see herself as a sex symbol. And this is the part in here where she's like, I don't look in the mirror and be like, you girl, you got it going on.
She said that so much back then.
Yeah. Yeah, but we also know that she like has said many times that despite the like evidence of like sexiness, you know, she's just like, it's just a character.
I'm just a dork.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and then they said that people get excited when taboos are broken in movies. And Drew said, although personally I'm very into stability, commitments, and domesticity now, I appreciate films that step over the industry's boundaries. Also, I think that people sometimes mistake what the real message of the film is, and that's why the industry is so limited. But fuck that.
I found it very interesting when I read that line. I'm very into stability, commitments, and domesticity now, because I feel like that has come up like in waves throughout her life. Yeah. And then it like totally goes the opposite way. And she goes into her like hedonistic, Justin Long, crazy 2009 clothes. And then it's more like, I just want to be like stable at home and like clean my living room, right? Like that's where she's at now for sure. But it's funny that it like came in these little peaks and valleys throughout her life.
Because I feel like when she was with Luke, like there was this kind of like feeling that she was going to like settle down, that she liked that stability for sure. So like,
and then I mean with Will, of course, also got very much that way. It's funny.
Totally. It is interesting to think about those waves.
Yeah. So then she's asked if she has close female friendships like the one in the film Poison Ivy. And Drew says she appreciates being asked that because usually with Poison Ivy, she's just asked about the supposed lesbianism between the characters. Of course. And she's like, making out with Sylvie was just one of Ivy's tricks, which is like pretty true how it reads in the film. And then she just like kind of says like at the beginning of the movie, these two characters do have a really strong and loving friendship. And Drew said, quote, I love to cuddle and giggle in bed with my friend Melissa. She's always supportive and gives great advice, but she's very distant affection-wise, and sometimes I get frustrated with her because I want to put my arm around her and hug her and do all that girly stuff. And I had to laugh because it must have been in our 1994 year in review episode not that long ago where we talk about this, Melissa. This is Mel Bochco, Drew's probably longest time ever friendship. And they're on this trip together on a cruise in the Mediterranean, and Mel just wants to stay in her room in bed, and not go on any excursions. So I just love that it's like she'll let me like cuddle in bed with her, and that's about it. She's also like falling asleep in one of the interviews in 1994 where she's accompanying Drew to, I think it's the Us magazine interview.
I think they're at like a restaurant and she's like laying down or something, or she like just puts her head down on the table.
Yeah.
Mel.
I love Mel.
I know. I wish we knew more about Mel. Like,
I would love to.
I don't know. We just know that she's been a constant in Drew's life. So
since they were like 7. It's amazing.
Right. And now we're talking about like 33 years ago and they're still friends. So then she's asked if it'd been hard to make friends due to being a quote unquote baby star, which is really funny. And Drew said that it definitely. was hard to make friends. But she says she's very lucky to have an incredible small group of friends who would do anything for her. This is like including Mel and Justine, and I'm sure other people that there've got to be other people we haven't heard of
Who've like come and gone.
Right.
Yeah,
right,
because I think this is like probably right before Kim Greitzer entered the scene. Well, I think she was her assistant on Amy Fisher's story. So maybe she is like coming around at this time. That would make sense.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
that is cool. Okay.
So then she's asked what it was like growing up alone with her mom. So just the two of them, right? And Drew said, quote, "I had a different childhood from anyone I knew. I listened to Jim Morrison rather than Sesame Street, and I read Charles Bukowski. I thought that was normal until I was 10 years old talking about Bukowski to a 35-year-old who reacted, 'How the hell do you know that?' It was just me and my mom. She didn't have many friends, and neither did I. We lost the ability to communicate for a couple of years, and once we gained it back, she became my best friend. We live 2 blocks away from each other now." And this is definitely, we've talked about this before, like this is kind of the last time they have a good relationship is right here. You know, they did Doppelganger. Drew stabbed her in the opening scene, and then it sort of seems like their relationship after that is done for the rest of all. Well, I guess they had that brief time when she was with Tom Green where they reconnected for a little bit.
But even then, like, I think it was like a not last. I mean, I guess we don't really know.
It certainly wasn't like
But
best friends.
I had forgotten that they like lived close by to each other.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten this fact at this time. But we're always curious about that timeline of that relationship.
Yeah.
Both of her relationships with her parents.
I mean,
like how often they actually did have an actual relationship.
I know. It's kind of funny. Like
just...
sometimes I'm like, should we do a whole episode on her mom or her dad? And I'm like, it's probably too much. And we've talked about them in like almost every episode we've ever done. Right.
Right. It would be, I mean, it'd be fascinating to think about it in that way. But I feel like we still have a lot of like puzzle pieces to put together in a way to like know, I don't know, the truth.
We got to wait for Drew to come on the show and tell us all that stuff.
And for her to like, for her mom to die so she can talk about it. No, I'm just kidding.
You know how she wants her mom to die? Headlines everywhere. Oh my God.
Yep.
Stupid.
Google it, guys. Google it.
Yeah,
we're not lying. So at this point, the interview just like jumps to the next day and we're in the car on the way to the photo shoot. And it's always interesting that like the articles usually don't have much connection to the like photo shoot.
Yeah, we actually just talked about that.
Yes.
When we were talking about Bert Stern.
Yes, that's right. That they do like talk about the photo shoot in that, right?
I wish they did that more, honestly. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, me too. Me too. But I guess sometimes it's like not, and maybe not as much anymore, so much of like that the art of the photo shoot is so tied with like the article
definitely not
in
anymore.
A way. You know, like it was like an art.
Yeah.
And I feel, not that that's gone, like it still exists, but I feel like we see so many reused photos. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. All right, so let's get back into it. So then Drew's asked if she'd been to a lot of schools, and Drew's response is yes. And she says, about 23?
No, girl.
She said, but she never tried hard because she couldn't express herself to the teachers. She said she would love to go back and learn more about film. Makes sense. She went to the College of Life, right? And then she said she wants to direct a movie inspired by the red balloon, which is so interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot there where like, I feel like that's the first time I ever can remember her saying she wanted to go back to school. Because usually the story was like, I don't have to be here. I'm emancipated. Bye. I'm never coming back again. And I think it has, we've talked about this a lot, it's always been a source of embarrassment, let's say, that she didn't finish school in the traditional sense. She was going to get her, what's it called? I'm like, GPA? Nope. PhD? Nope. GED.
Her GED.
You remember on the second season of the Drew Barrymore show when they came back, she did this whole thing where she and RuPaul were going to, and maybe like a couple audience members that they brought in or something, were going to go back and get their GEDs. And it was like going to be a whole journey. And then it just went away.
Fizzled out.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I know. I would remember being so excited that for her, like that she was going to do it. And then, you know, much like many of her projects, she probably went, what the hell am I trying to do? Juggle all this.
But hey, instead she got an honorary degree from Cal Arts for her 50th
That's
birthday.
true. And we got to be there.
Yeah, we did. But like her learning about film, like
Yeah.
she did that on her own. When we
For
think
sure.
of things like The Essentials, where she's in there with like all of this film knowledge, and anyway, so she did it. She just did it in her own way.
Even like, yeah, and even what she brought to the table with like compiling all of these clips to show what she wanted Charlie's Angels to look like, or Whip It, of course, is a great example, and we'll kind of feed into that here because she's asked if she has a longing to be on the other side of the camera. And it's neat because this is only a couple years before Flower Films started. Like, we're pretty close to that, which is neat. So her quote is, "I'm enamored with the other side of the filmmaking process. I'm always trying to bond with my directors, but I don't know how I'm going to respond actually to telling people what to do because I'm not very good at that. I have an assistant and I let her do her own thing. I can't even tell her what to do." And it made me laugh because I definitely remember her like sort of being asked about that with Never Been Kissed, you know, and I do remember her saying like, she wishes she could be the kind of boss that would throw coffee cups. I don't know why that quote is in my head, but like that's just not her, you know. Of course.
Yeah, I'm kind of that kind of boss too, where I just like expect people to just like step up to their own plate, you know, and like not have to be hard on them,
not have to delegate. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I'm managing 3 people over the summer right now, and it's.
Ooh, I know. I have just my one office assistant, and definitely sometimes I'm like, I have to be like, okay, you got to do it like this. And other times I'm like, I don't want to say that. It's hard for me.
Right. So we feel you, Drew. We're like, we want to just be nice and jovial.
Yep.
So then she's asked if what Cannes was like. And Drew talks about, so Cannes Film Festival. And Drew's immediate feeling is like, they hated it. Jamie goes on to like mention that they were kicked out of Chanel. And then Drew explains that she has this like favorite pair of shoes by Karl Lagerfeld. She said they're little open-toed, crisscross with a thick heel. They're very Marilyn Monroe.
Ooh,
hey, cool.
Call back to 2 episodes ago.
Yep. And then she like explains they went into Chanel to find those shoes, and then they were asked to leave because they were assumed that they were like going to be shoplifting. And she said, at the Chanel store in LA, they're so nice, but she said, God forbid you go in there in a pair of Levi's.
And then Jamie says, or you have tattoos.
Yep. And you pulled up a picture of what I'm sure the shoes are.
Yeah, these were heels she wore all the time in 1992 and 1993. So I guess we could throw one of these in the gallery so you guys can check them out. And you'll be like, oh, yeah, those shoes.
So that's what she was going in there trying to get and got turned away. She said in 2000 Malibu Road, her character, I guess, started wearing thrift store baseball tees and evolves into wearing Chanel.
And again, I'm like, don't think we ever got that far.
I don't think so either.
I would have loved to see it, though. Damn.
Right. And then Jamie said that the best part of Cannes was their layover in Paris at the airport where they played Game Boy with Linda Evangelista. And that's
story.
So fun because we heard about this recently, right?
Yeah.
I guess we'd heard it in here, but like it came back up.
Yeah. So Drew says, quote, "It was really early in the morning and we were sitting in the VIP lounge. Jamie said that I was staring at her to a horrible degree, and I felt really bad because it was a cross between, oh, there's Linda Evangelista, and being so tired that I couldn't move my eyes in another direction." She looked up at me and held out her Game Boy and went, "You want to play?" That was the highlight of our trip to Cannes, going head to head with Linda Evangelista. And that's where the article ends. And as you said, Linda was on the Drew Barrymore show, I think just last year, and they discussed this. And I was like hoping that they would. And it's so sweet because Linda's sort of like, I don't know if you even remember this. Yeah. And I'm like, I remember. This was an interview.
And I feel like they both admit to being like a little starstruck of each other. And then they like, you know, had this like, oh my God, she's got a Game Boy too. Like
I know. And then the show like gifted her a Game Boy during the appearance, which was so cute. It was like in a box. It was like she opened it up and it was in there.
That's really cute. That is really cute. But yes, it kind of like abruptly ends here. On a fun note, I think this is a fun article, obviously an iconic shoot. A very like kind of lightning in a bottle moment because of the
Yeah.
hair, because of the boyfriend, because of I
Wow.
don't know.
You're so right.
You know?
Those things were both
Like
here and then not real
right,
quick.
right, right, but like big, impactful while being like contained.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so wild to think about. It's a
Yeah.
good one though. If you guys, again, if you're not familiar with this one, if you're not one of those pervs who's Googling Drew Barrymore nudes, then go check these out. And they're tasteful. They're not, I mean, I wouldn't even say Playboy's not tasteful, but these are less
Yeah.
revealing than that for sure.
I wonder what Mila would say if you like showed them to her.
Oh, she would hate it. She's such a prude. Well, I was going to say when I brought this to my office to scan it, I had a moment of like,
Oh, I'm holding a magazine with a nude person.
if anyone's
Yeah.
here and I have to be like, oh, just scanning a teenage Drew Barrymore naked on the front of this magazine, like that gave me pause, which is interesting. But like I see it all the time and I don't have a reaction to it. But I was kind of thinking
Right.
about like what would an
Other
outsider think? Luckily,
Mhm.
no one was there and I was able to just get it done real quick without having to
Yeah.
explain.
Yeah, and we don't have to explain to you guys. You get us. You know
Yeah.
our intentions. Just like, I just thought about this, but how Drew kind of explained that like she got us, like she got our vibe and our like maybe she didn't say this, but like that our intention is good. Like I think
maybe she said it or maybe it was just very clearly
Like,
what she was
inferred.
going
Right.
for. Yeah.
right. But I think that, we're coming to this from like we're gonna kind of giggle about the fact that she's naked, sure. We're gonna like discuss the fact that she's young and how it can be justified in our minds and how it's weirdly okay as big fans. I don't know. It's fun to like go into this stuff that's like
Yeah. And I also think
don't
as
know.
historians, this is a
Yeah.
biggie. Like we had to hit this eventually. And I'm glad we talked about it. And again, I really would love to hear what you guys think. So please reach out to us. You can rate, review, and subscribe, of course. Like I said, on Spotify, you can now leave comments on episodes. And we've only had a couple. I would love to get more. We could even put a poll up there like, do you think this is inappropriate? I would love to know.
that'd be interesting. Yeah.
And then you can also come have a conversation with us over on Instagram at How Do You Drew Pod. And we also have our other account at Drewseum.
Mm-hmm. And you're online anyway, so make sure you visit howdoyoudrew.com. Make sure you check out the episode page for every episode, including this one. And it's hosted on the drewseum.com, our old standby.
I was just going to say that. It is getting old, by the way. We're coming up on 20 years of this website, guys.
Holy what?
Older than Drew in this magazine, I'm just saying. What?
That's weird. That's weird because I realize I can remember what I realize when I'm feeling old when I can like remember far enough back of somebody's age. Like I'm like, oh, I remember 17 years ago like very well.
Yes.
And then I'm like, that's the
that's
time
how old
between
she
then
was.
and now that anyway, we've mentioned it a couple times, but you got to make sure you sign up for our Patreon and we have some special stuff over there that we've mentioned and
Patreon.com/howdoyoudrew.
Yeah, go look at this whole article. You're going to have a blast with it.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget to send listener mail to howdoyoudrewpod@gmail.com or any of those socials or leave some comments or anything. We're here for it. All right, you guys. I guess we'll see you all next Tuesday.
All right. Sounds good. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. This episode of the How Do You Drew podcast was researched and produced by Ashley and Ann from thedrewseum.com with help from our sponsor, Positive Medium.
Special thanks to Matt Costa for our lovely theme song, Roxy Prima for our adorable logo, and last but not least, Drew Barrymore and all the Drewbies who love her. We do this for you.
Thank you.